thinking about a part-time job, for you guys thinking about university and colleges and where they want to go, all of that is really going to get handed to a parent about the same time on this same platter, and it's about how parents can actually handle that.
I absolutely love it. This is the Sonya and Sacha show, national TV and radio directors of Australian Teenage Expo, author of The Two Worlds of Your Teenager. I had no idea. You said 20, the average person is having 29 jobs in 7 different industries. As you were saying that, I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. And I have a degree in economics, and I still managed to be somewhat near that average. We're talking about balance here. We done talked about partying. We talked about drugs. We talked about alcohol. We talked about hospitality. We also talked about careers, which we're going to really dive into in just a moment. I was hanging on Sasha's Instagram page, and I see that you guys are interacting with Gary V.
Oh, yes. You got to give me Gary V last week. Amazing. Yeah.
Now, here's my question for you, because I was riding down with my lady, and she has 2 teenagers, and we were riding from North Carolina to New Jersey, and we didn't know what we were listening to. That's about an 8-hour ride, right? Mm-hmm. So I throw on some Gary V, and Gary V, he does have a little bit of explicit language, but he has a lot of messages for teenagers and for kids that are geared towards kids. So I just let that run for a few hours. And although he was cursing and, explicit language, there were some really key points that these teenagers had that they received. I want to know what you guys' take is on Gary V. Just personally, what you guys feel about his message and what he's about. But I also want to know, how do you guys feel about teenagers listening and following someone like Gary Vaynerchuk when he's not preaching the traditional, go to school, get a job, blah, blah, blah. So whoever wants to go first, I would like to know your take.
Well, it's not that he's saying don't go to school and don't do those things, because he's literally talking about when, he's saying about go and study further and get a degree in the university. He's looking and saying around your career around marketing and how you would promote yourself. There isn't anything out there that's talking about how to do it right now in the fast world that we are with technology now. There's nobody talking about what to do. Yet at the same time, if you want to be a doctor, you're not going to be able to do it by listening to Gary V and say, hey, don't go to school, because that's the way that you need to do it. But understand that there are new ways to promote yourself. There are new things that you can actually do much faster. And he's really about getting that content out there and being real. So there are certain, and he's also about not setting yourself up to start your career in debt with, huge university fees, to think more about going out there and getting your own experience. And we're 100% agreeing for that. But there are obviously, law degrees, medical degrees, every other degree that, engineering that does actually require you to go to university. We'll go ahead and do that. But be very aware that you need to be able to teach yourself some of the information, the ground rules on how you market yourself and get yourself out there, especially starting your own business. Then you need to figure that stuff out yourself, because there's not a college out there or a university out there that's teaching you to do it as fast as you can. Like, you can't go to a university and they're not going to teach you how to best advertise on Facebook the way that it needs to be done right now for your industry, and, include how you can navigate through Snapchat and make sure you can teach them if you swipe up, you can press this, and there's nothing that's teaching that information. And that's the stuff that he's talking about.
All right. And speaking about Sonya, I want to know from you, is Gary Vaynerchuk teenager friendly? But Sacha, you just mentioned Snapchat. And I'm curious to know, do you both have a Snapchat, or anyone have Snapchat?
Yeah, we both do.
All right, give us your snaps so we can connect with you guys.
Well, Sacha Kaluri.
Yep. And Sonya Karras as well, so same. Or Oz Teen Expo, AUS Teen Expo.
Okay.
Excellent. So my take on Gary V, BV, is that, look, I just love that this guy preaches pretty much everything that we stand for. He is he's keeping it real always. He is so grounded and down to earth. Like, we saw him at a conference speaking to a room full of about 1,500 people, and he got on the stage and he was just rocking some sneakers, his new sneakers that he's just released in the last couple of days, and a pair of jeans and a T-shirt, and he hasn't shaved, and he had one hand in his pocket for most of the time, and the rest of the time he was just, prowling around on the stage, and he just keeps it real. And I think, the language that he uses, if you're staying up at night time past 9:30, you'll hear that language on television, and it's no surprise to anybody, the words that he uses. So I think, no one needs to get all upset about that. But I think, the particular for teenagers, we use some of his stuff, refer to some of his stuff in our seminars, and he's just the qualities that I think that he talks about being the most important, including gratitude and self-awareness and empathy, being the only thing that matters in terms of being a person in this world, and then going from there about your business is so important for young people to get now, particularly when we are in a very quick, consumeristic kind of world. If you can get away from all of that and just understand people and understand yourself and what you love and what makes you tick, and how to follow your thing that you absolutely love the most. He's preaching all of that stuff, and I'm telling you, I'm buying. I'm in the audience. I'm amening, because it's good. This is good stuff. It's good stuff for our kids to learn and know about. He did a video called the Dumpster Video, and it was about not caring what other people think. And I think every teenager in the world needs to watch that, because it was just so articulate. He's standing next to a dumpster in New York, and he said, "This is what I want you to do with any people's opinions about you. I want you to throw them in the dumpster, because you should not care about that. Who cares about what Green Man 75 said on your comment on your on your Twitter feed or on your Facebook or your whatever? Who gives a crap what they say? And you need to throw that in the bin and focus on you." And I just think, oh yes, he just got it across in such a cool way. And I've shown it to my son, and he's like, "Yeah, Mum, that's cool. I love that." So, I'm buying it. I'm buying all of it. I love it.
Yeah, that's definitely cool. I totally agree with both of you. Let's go into what everybody probably tuned in to hear. You know what? I don't know how it's done in Australia. I don't know if you ladies have any statistics or anything like that, but just from my POV, it's a sad thing to say, but it's a real thing to say. There's a lot of parents who are becoming scared, literally scared, of their children, their preteens, and their teenagers. A lot of that, I believe, has to do with communication and lack thereof.
Absolutely.
What do you guys have to share about? Can you give us some tips, or can you give us you guys' perspective on how we are communicating with our teenagers, how we should, or how we're not? Let's talk about communicating with our teenagers.
Well, firstly, I think that one of the things that we need to think about when we are communicating is the time that we actually communicate with young people. Often parents will come at them and speak to young people in the time that they've got allocated. So, for example, tonight I think I need to speak to my son, so I walk in and, hey, we need to talk about this. And so think about it kind of like you would in a marriage. In a marriage, it doesn't necessarily all go to plan, where you say, hey, today I just feel like talking this, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready right now. It doesn't always necessarily go to plan. So it needs to be almost like you strategically think about when is the best time for them, because they're most likely shutting down in their communication. So start to open your eyes and notice when is the best time that they are most open to being able to find a strategy that you can get in. I mean, I know with my son, we have we have a long trip that we take to school, and I've been able to work out that when I want to talk is I get in the car, and I know we've got like 30 minutes that we can chat, and I want to get in the car and I'm pulling out the driver and I want to start saying, so let's talk about this, blah, blah, blah. He's not ready to talk. And so I've been kind of, I was trying to like force this so that we could start getting in this conversation right then. And I started noticing that the best time to have the conversation was when we were like a few minutes away from school, because he would then know, hey, Mum, there's a cut-off time coming for this conversation. So I'd then start to say, no, I've noticed he gets a bit chatty when we get to this location. So once I get to that location, I'm making sure that music is down, all devices are off, and I start to talk, because he knows, hey, we're at school in a minute, so she can't like hammer me for 10 years about this conversation, and I get the most out of him. But that's because I've been opening my eyes to what's the best strategy that actually works for him. For some people, it could actually be at night time. For some people, it could be while they're, is actually taking him out for an activity. So start to notice when the best time for them is that they're most open to being able to communicate, which again is probably not going to be when you're ready. So be really well aware of that.
Now, that I've never heard of before. Timing. Wow, okay, that you just helped me out, actually. This is a selfish sense of appreciation here. You said it's not always about when the time is good for us. You said we got to figure out to be effective. Now, we could do it whenever. You're saying basically we could do it whenever we want to do it. But the key word I heard you use was effective. If you want to be effective, we have to be aware. We got to pay attention to when is the best time for them.
Yeah.
How did you figure that out? Like, did you fail a bunch of times and say, I'm going to change something up? Or like, how did that come about?
I mean, I guess I'm big on self-awareness, and I started to notice that at certain time, I started to notice that I am up for a peak conversation at 7:15 a.m. when we get in the car, and he's like, Mum, give me my phone, da-da-da, and he's just not open to the conversation. And so, I'm doing this drive 5 days a week. So you can fail a whole lot of time where you start to go, hang on, he's not interested in that. But all of a sudden, when I know I've only got 5 more minutes in the car, he'll ask a question. And so I guess it's just about self-awareness, where I say, hang on a minute, this has been going on for 3 weeks, 5 days a week, where you're starting to open up around about this location, and we've got 5 minutes to go. And so all of a sudden I start to think, actually, I'm going to use this to my advantage. So tomorrow, let's give this an experiment. When you get in the car, don't hammer him at this moment. Let's try when we get to this location. So you try it out, and all of a sudden you get some success. The next day you try it out again, you get some more success, and you think, well, I'm going to throw out, the idea and the concept of getting in the car, my idea, because it wasn't working. So let's go with this one. So it's about being self-aware. It's about noticing. Because there's no point me every day of the week, knocking my head against a brick wall and trying to communicate with him the minute I get in the car, because it's effective to me. It's just not going to work. So it's really about being the adult in the relationship and saying, hey, this works. It's just the same way as I know that if I bombard my husband the moment he walks in the door and say, oh, blah, 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 he kind of goes, back off, let me put my stuff down. I need to get changed. It doesn't work. give him half an hour, and then I can go up and say, hey, blah, 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 we need to do this with the kids. I need you to do that. And I'm more likely to get a response of a